Well, he said, it feels like everyone's avoiding Georgia like the plague. I don't know why. They aren't going away just because. They're super young on defense and still leading the SEC in points allowed and yardage allowed, and all that's true. So the second part was just stats. But the first part, why is everyone avoiding Georgia? We haven't talked about Georgia a lot on this show. It's not because we're avoiding them. There are very few brands that it helps us more to talk about than Georgia. I grew up in Georgia. I'm from Georgia, so I've been around the program my whole life. They haven't, look, I know it's popular to say about Ohio State. They haven't played anyone, at least when it comes to national relevance. What game have they been in? Ever since week 1, that Oregon game. Listen to this. We're not doing game breakdowns on Georgia versus Samford. Georgia was favored big and won big at South Carolina. Kent State, at Missouri, Auburn, they were favored by 30. Vanderbilt, there just hasn't been a chance. And so now they got the Florida game coming up next week, maybe. And then, of course, everybody will be ready for that Tennessee game. But, there's a string of games. Look, let me promise you something there. Florida, Tennessee, Mississippi State, and Kentucky back to back to back to back. And then maybe an SEC championship game 2 weeks from that. Yeah, we'll talk about Georgia a lot the second half of the season. I don't think people are ignoring them. I don't think there's been any reason to talk about Georgia. There hasn't been a major injury. There certainly have not been close games. So I guess what I would say about Georgia right now is job well done, and we'll see you soon. The other thing to keep in mind, you could say the same thing about Ohio State. Those two, Georgia and Ohio State, they have not been tested like Bama already has. So Bama's got flaws, and you know about them. These other teams may have flaws that you don't know about. Now, Georgia got pushed against Missouri. Like, we know this is not the most special Georgia running back tandem or stable that we've seen. They're not overly special at receiver. They're very special in the tight end room. This is not a team probably with a quarterback that can do what Bryce Young did last week. It's also a team that doesn't need to because they can play better defense than Alabama played last week. Some of the things we know about them. I'm talking about more nuanced things. Like, remember back in fall, or spring and summer rather, when the biggest storyline around Georgia was that number 2 cornerback battle, and eventually we had a guy settle in there. You never know if they're a little more vulnerable there than you realize, and they just haven't faced a team that can throw the ball on them. Like, it's theoretical. I'm just saying there may be some things after that Tennessee game that we say, oh, wow, I didn't know that this, whatever, fill in the blank, was that big a deal. So same thing with Ohio State. And frankly, I don't know when it would be exposed with Ohio State, but, let's keep an eye on them. They may beat Iowa this week, but struggle offensively to make you think, ooh, down the road, when someone who can pair a good defense with a legitimate offense faces Ohio State, maybe that matters. So that's the kind of stuff I'm watching with Georgia right now. I think that Missouri game was probably a good wake-up call for them because it was just in the middle of a wasteland of non-competitiveness. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't leave yet. Don't leave yet. Make sure you like the video and please subscribe to the channel. Not just for me, that's how we keep this entire thing free.